Listen very closely because I know a secret about your future. You're about to discover a hidden power you've always had, and it will change everything you thought you knew about yourself. Do not skip this. The thing you are proud of this week is not the thing that was celebrated. The thing that was celebrated is something you cannot even remember. Doing Chosen One. I need you to listen closely to what comes next, because they say heaven smiled because you finally did this, and almost everyone who hears the sentence reaches immediately for the biggest thing. They did the longest prayer, the hardest forgiveness, the decision they told 2 or 3 people, about half hoping one of them would say it out loud back to them. It was not that. In this system, the celebrated thing is almost always the smallest thing you did. And it is small for a reason that will be proven to you before this is over. Not small because it carried no weight. Small because of the direction it moved in. Hold that sentence somewhere in you. I am going to come back and open it all the way. Go back a few days. It was only a moment. No one saw it happen. After that, no one sent you a message about it. No one thanked you. And you didn't even think to write it down. It could have been a sentence you usually say but forgot to say this time. You might have read the message and felt your blood rush to your face. Snorts and music, you put the phone down and didn't write an answer. That might have been the time. You didn't say sorry for something you didn't do wrong. And your shoulders dropped a half inch. You missed it. This was something your body knew before your head did. You dropped something that wasn't yours. While you listen to this, 3 things will happen. Everything I have covered across this channel is now in one place. The prayers, the teachings, the daily blessings. It is all inside the Daily Miracle Manual link in the description. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence when you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. You aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, snorts, and it will be given to you is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose. Join the conversation and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. The first is that you'll remember exactly what time it was in your own week. I'll give you 3 markers, and I'll tell you right now that you'll find your moment before I describe the second one. It will hit you with a small jolt because that's how recognition works when it hits something true. The second is that you'll understand why that little thing was so hard. It's not hard because you're weak. Not hard because you don't have much faith. Hard because you are the first person in your family tree. Going back further than the names you were given to be able to do it. The weight you felt wasn't just yours, but you've been carrying it as if it were. Third, you will be given a test, something you can do tonight before you go to sleep. That doesn't cost anything and doesn't need anyone else to help you. A test that tells the difference between what you were actually given and what you've been carrying around for years because no one else would and because no one has ever told you to stop. Now let me answer the question you already have. Someone told you that a joy this big is aimed at you. And a quiet voice inside you asked, "Then why do I not feel anything? Why is my chest the same? Why did I wake up this morning the same person in the same room with the same weight?" Here is the answer. And it's not the answer you were given. It's not that you don't believe enough. It's not that you failed some secret test of how sincere you are. The happiness is being sent out in full force. It's only reaching a small part of the capacity of the thing inside you that it was made to do. That's not even close to the same problem. For years, you've thought the second one was your fault. You knocked for years and it was good. You hit the doorbell, right? You knocked more often than almost everyone you know. You knocked during times when knocking kept you up at night. You didn't knock that day. You opened the latch. It's loud to knock. A latch doesn't make noise. That's why you didn't hear anything else. And thought nothing had happened. Before we go any further, I want to name something about you. You have to do a certain thing. You read over a message you already replied to. You open it once more. You read your own answer out loud and try to picture. It would sound to someone else. You weren't not sure about what it said. You were taking a look at the temperature. Stress is not that habit. This is what other people call it, and you've probably said it yourself. Calling it that has never helped you. It is a monitoring reflex, and you don't be born with them, you learn them. To stay safe, you had to read someone in your history correctly. And the reflex lived on for at least one generation after the danger. Now, for the first bit of relief, I'm giving it to you early because you need something to hold on to before we go any further. That instinct isn't right. That's not a bad thing about you or a sign that you are too focused on yourself. You learned this skill while you were under a lot of stress, and you can set it down, not delete it. I'm not going to fully answer that right now because the mechanism behind it is what this whole message is meant to show you. And it needs more space than I can give it in a sentence. You may have felt something loosen up a bit in your chest before I even said the word installed. Do not let go of that loosening. We're going to add to it. Put 4 words in the comments if that worked. The complete guide, every daily prayer, every spiritual tool, everything I've put together to help you grow your faith is down in the description. It's called the Daily Miracle Manual. Now stay right here with me because as this awakening grows inside, you know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. I found the right time. Not for me. Because once you name something, you can no longer ignore it. No, this is not a memory problem. Let me show you why you can't figure out what you did. You remember things that are important to you very well. And the fact that you can't find this one is proof of that. They never told you there was a second scale. So, you've been giving your life bad grades for years. Think about how you judge a day. You run a count at the end even though you didn't plan to. Did I finish the list? Will I be there for those who need me? Did someone compliment my work? Every number on that list has something in common that you haven't seen because the pattern is the water you swim in. Every single one can be seen by someone else. That's what you call being responsible. You will say that it is having standards. Some of you have been told your whole lives that you are too hard on yourself and you've just chosen to accept as part of your personality. Also, it's not true. If you are strict with yourself, you are being hard on yourself. There isn't a strict scale being used. It looks like the scale you're using is measuring the wrong amount. This is what is really happening. Every scoring system you learned uses output that can be checked by someone else. It was marked. What could be marked in school, what can be reported is measured by work. Respectfully, even the spiritual places you've been to have kept track of things like attendance, service, and outward signs of faithfulness. These are things that can be seen on the outside of a person. So you set up an internal scale that only recognizes something as real after it has been seen. And heaven controls the opposite scale. It's not that the things that can be seen are worthless. It's that the things that can be seen have already been paid for. They come back with their own things. Someone saw them. Someone noticed you or owed you something after the fact and said, "Thank you." Right then and there, the deal was done. Heaven looks for the action that had no possible reward because that's the only action that shows what a person was like when no one was making them. Something that doesn't have a name will get lost in a day. So I want to give it a name. I call what you did this week the unwitnessed yes. Snorts, an unwitnessed yes is a small deal you make with a more honest version of yourself when no one is watching, no one is affected and no one benefits. It is a yes that costs something and gives you nothing in return. It is also the most accurate reading of a person because performance is impossible at that moment. No one is there to put on a show for feel what this does to your past. Now you thought you weren't moving all those years, those times when you couldn't remember anything about the past year and thought, what did I even do with that year? Because you were always moving. A steady stream of yes were being given by you. Without realizing it. Each one registered somewhere. But none of them registered on the scale you were given. That's not defeat. There was a mistake in the measurement and you were sent to prison for a crime that an instrument did. Now do these things for the rest of the day. 3 lines. Find your own moment with them. I'll say it again. Most of you will have it before the second one is over. Number 1. Find a time this week when you felt your body drop and didn't know why. Not really relief. Not as high as relief. You didn't mean to. But your jaw moved a little apart. Your shoulders dropped. Or you let out a breath. Before you can put it into words, your nervous system knows when a load has been lifted. If you find the drop, you can usually find the act that caused it in the same hour. 2 marks. Find the word or phrase you forgot to say. You've said the same thing over and over for years. Something you might say to say sorry for something that wasn't your fault. It could be a small joke that makes fun of yourself to make other people feel better. It could be the word fine. There was a time this week when the line was fully loaded and ready to go, but you didn't fire it. The quiet wasn't noticed by anyone. It's that silence that matters. 3 marks. Find the thing you didn't grab. You let a responsibility drift past you in a room. It always seems to do that with things that are your responsibility. After that, you might have felt bad for about 90 seconds. That sense of guilt is the mark. Guilt after a healthy boundary is left over from canceling an old task. That is your company back. There's no need for a big memory. You want to see a small drop, a sentence you swallowed, and a weight you lost. From now on, keep track of both scales. When you add up everything at the end of the day, find out what you did that no one saw. When asked every night, that question rebuilds the instrument. If that made you feel good, say so in the comments. Little things did matter. Put it somewhere that people who are still looking can see it. Dust. It's time to talk about why that little thing moved. First, I want to hold something up and then put it down. In research labs over the past few years, something was found that most people who really care about what we're talking about never been told. It has to do with the receiver. It's about how someone can be honest, loyal, and open and still feel like almost nothing is coming their way. When I have a better idea of what the problem is and where the answer can land, I will tell you what they found. Hold one question in your mind right now and don't put it down. What if you don't feel much of what is meant for you because you're too far away, have doubts, or don't have enough faith? What would you do if someone stole something from you? Do not press enter yet. Write one line in the comments so you can see it later. I'm ready to receive. Now I'll show you why that small quiet act made a difference when your loudest ears didn't make a sound. You understand exactly what I mean. You did everything. Some years you prayed longer than everyone else. Your body didn't want you to be there, but you did. You did your job. Forgive. You let people off the hook. But they never came back to say sorry. You got up when no one was around. You really meant every word. Nothing moved. You didn't need it to move that way. After that, there was a day when you did almost nothing. It was probably not a big day. And soon after, something in your life fell apart. Things went differently in a conversation. A situation that you had been preparing for months changed in a quiet way. An ordinary Tuesday came with the news that someone said something to you that you had been waiting years to hear. There are 2 ways that you have told yourself that. Either you thought it was timing and that God had a plan and that plan just showed up, leaving you passive and waiting for the next time slot. Or you thought it was cumulative and that all your hard work finally reached a point where it tipped over, forcing you to keep putting effort into a container that you can't see the bottom of. You will stay where you are with either of these explanations because they are both wrong. The first one lets you watch. The second one turns you into a worker who can't set their own hours. You can't tell from either one what happened in that room. This is what took place, snorts, in life. There are 2 types of doors and most people don't know how to tell them apart. The first type can't be opened from the outside. The key is with someone else. A person who makes decisions, a family member who hasn't changed yet, or a situation that hasn't changed. For those doors, knocking is the right thing to do. You make your presence known. If you keep trying, someone on the other side might come along and open it in the end. You are on the inside of the second type of door, which is locked from the outside. I want to be clear about this because it took me a while to figure it out and it changed the way I read almost everything. You can't go through doors where someone says no because they are the ones that hold the most important parts of your life shut. Some doors have a latch on the side that you are facing. For years, you have stood with your back to that latch and hit the wood with both hands. When you knock something, it's not the same as when you unlatch something. They do the opposite of each other. When you knock, you put effort outward at a barrier. You think someone else controls. When you unlatch, you make a small movement inside your hand that you didn't know was free. One is loud, lasts a long time, wears you out, and can be seen. The other one only takes a second, and doesn't make any noise. Now you know why the thing that gets praised is always small. Small things open from the inside. It needs to be there is no distance to cover, no obstacle to get past, and no force is needed. You don't have to push on a latch. A latch wants to be used. I named this thing for you a short time ago, but this time it's coming from a different direction. The yes that isn't seen is always an unlatching. That's why no one plays it. When you knock, you want to be heard. So you always have people around you. The whole point of a latch is that only the person inside can reach it. So no one else can unlatch it. Take another look at those years. That knocking and working hard that only made noise and no progress was not wasted or a sign of lack of faith. This is what it really was. You were working with a correct description of the wrong door. You learned early on that other people had the things you needed. That was once true. The important locks were really on the far side of the house where you grew up or the place that shaped you. A child can't take anything off. When a child knocked, you had to get very good at it, better than most people ever do. You are no longer in that house, though, for the building you were in. The map you were given was correct. You have moved buildings but kept the map. It has been telling you to knock on doors that you are already in. That's not a sign of bad character. That map is out of date. This pattern keeps happening to people who are going through the same season as me, and it always goes in the same order. Years of knocking and being tired. A time when the person stops because they are so tired. Then a small act that they don't even notice, and then movement that order always. Never do the opposite. So here's what you should do today with it. Just one question is enough. Take a look at the problem in your life that has been bothering you the longest and has been there for so long that you hardly see it as a problem anymore. You just bring it up and ask, does the change I want need someone else to do something different, or would it be possible as soon as I stop doing that one thing, snorts, if someone else is really needed? It's a knocking door. Don't feel bad about how slowly you're knocking. Be honest and don't be ashamed. The second part of the question, on the other hand, might make you feel a little hot resistance. If there is something you don't want to look at right away, you have just found a latch and have been knocking on a door. You are standing behind. Take a seat with that. Don't fix it yet. While I speak, please take a moment to breathe. I can tell that you have been holding something since I began speaking. You don't need to do anything in 30 seconds. You're not being asked to change anything about yourself or become better. It's fine for you to be reading this from wherever you are sitting right now. You do not need to get ready to be talked to. There is a Hebrew word that is translated into English as rejoice, but it becomes very flat when it is translated. The word is gil, which doesn't mean happy. Feeling good about someone from afar does not mean agreeing with them or liking them. What the root means in English is to spin, circle, or whirl around. Think about how that changes the sentence you came here to look at. What you did not make heaven smile. As the word was first used, heaven is not happy with you. In the same way that a boss is happy, this word refers to something that is going around and around in a circle and can't stop. At that moment, everyone else in your life didn't even notice what was meant. That person is still knocking on a door behind you. Tap the like button on this to make it move toward them. There is only one time I will ask, and it's not for me. The second thing I promised you is now what you wrote down. You are the one who is aware. You are the one who holds the details that would otherwise fall in any system you are a part of. Whether it's your family, your workplace, your group of friends, or your church, you can tell when someone in the room has stopped talking. You know which two people shouldn't sit next to each other. People forget about your anniversary, but you remember it and you feel heavy for 3 days before it happens. These are the specifics. You would noticeably weaken the structure if you stopped for just 1 week and someone would be mad at you for it. Not thankful for the years, mad at the week. There is a word for this and you can trust it. Some people have a strong word for it. You've been the strong one for so long that the job description came before you could say anything about it. And by the time you were old enough to decide if you wanted the part, you were already 3/4 of the way through your life in it. You are getting hurt badly by that description. And here's why. It talks about the behavior, but not where it came from. It combines two totally different types of load into one word. Since they both have the same word, you can't tell them apart. You can't put either one down because you can't tell them apart. There were things that were given to you and things that you got because no one else would take them. It's not possible for an assignment to only have 2 of the 3 properties listed. At first it was said that moment when it became clear in words between you and someone or between you and God is somewhere you remember. It also has a point. The boundary is easy to describe because it has a shape, a scope, and a place where it stops. 3. It can be given to someone else. If you gave it to someone else who could handle it, the thing would still work after the handoff. An acquired load has the 3 opposites. It was never said it got there by drift. You were the one whose nervous system couldn't handle the empty space in the room, so you filled it up. The filling stuck even though no one agreed to it. It's not sharp. When someone asks you where it ends, you'll say, well, that depends. Now, think about how that makes you feel after being tired for a while. People have told you and you have told yourself that you are tired from having too much to do. Again, that is not true. Take a look at the proof. You have carried a huge load for a long time. Through times when most people would have given up. You have a lot of power. Your ability is unique. You're not worn out from carrying the weight. You're worn out from carrying weight that wasn't yours to carry. A load that is assigned comes with supply. You're not making that up. It is a pattern that can be seen. When someone gives you something, it has a strange stability to it. Even when it's hard, you can be worn out from an assignment and still feel the ground. This kind of load doesn't have a flaw. It draws all the time and gives back nothing. It also makes you tired in a way that sleep can't. That means that the years you thought you were failing at rest were not due to a lack of discipline. If you want the full guide with every prayer and lesson I've compiled for this community, check the description for the Daily Miracle Manual. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says gate in heaven will open over you on this platform. Every seed you plant into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart. And as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now. Join the family and see your heavens open. You were good at taking a break. You were resting on top of a load that wasn't being paid for. And sleep couldn't fix that because sleep was never the missing input. This is the test. Do it now. It's free and no one needs to know that you're running it. Take one thing with you. Just one. Pick one that is about average size. It's not the biggest. Question 3 times in a row and write down only the answers. Don't write down any explanations because that's where you'll hide. The first question is, has anyone ever said this to me out loud? Not implied, not clear, spoken. Second question, if I say where this ends, can I do it in one sentence without using is? Third question, if I gave this to someone who knew what they were doing tomorrow, would something actually break? Or would someone just be unhappy? If it gives you 3 yes, it's yours. You can carry it without questioning it. I promise you that answer is correct and some of you will get it. Just knowing that is worth the test. But if the answer to question 1 is no, you are carrying something that wasn't yours. As you now understand, an inheritance is not the same as a burden. You were never really left. That's what you left behind last week. You don't need to remember it right now. It's already in your body. Say it where you can see it later if something just got loose. I put it down. You are the only one who wrote those 3 words in the comments. Now, some of you are coming up with a very good objection right now. I want to say it out loud before it gets stronger because an objection you never voice turns into a wall you never get over. That's a fair report and I won't argue with it. You might be thinking, I've done this before. I set a boundary once. Snorts, I said what I thought. I stuck to it. Within 2 weeks, the whole thing had quietly come back together around me. And I was carrying it again, this time with more anger than before. But look at what you actually tried to do. You changed how you behave. Things are going to be different after what we talk about. When you change a behavior on top of a mechanism that you haven't looked into, the behavior goes back to how it was because the mechanism creates the behavior faster than you can stop it. You dealt with an output like it was the source. I want you to feel what the end goal looks like before we get to the tough part. Let me show you what it looks like on the other side. Imagine a normal evening in the future about a year from now. Late spring. The light stays on longer than you thought it would. What you're doing is not at all interesting. As you wipe down a counter or stand at the door deciding whether to put your shoes on or not, your phone lights up next to you and shows a name. After a year, one of the names shows up this evening, but there is nothing there, not being cold. You still care about that person and want to answer them, but your body doesn't get ready. You clean the counter all the way up. When you're ready, you pick up the phone. You are no longer carrying something for them that they never asked you to carry and couldn't have named if you asked them. So there is no cost to picking it up. There is already that version of you. It's not someone else or somewhere else. The time between you and that evening is not years of work or a change in your personality. The latches are in a row and most of them are right next to you. Let me tell you why the first one costs so much. You have been upset about something for a week now and haven't told anyone. The thing in question was really small. There was a sentence you didn't say, a request you didn't agree to, and a room you left a little early. And after that, you were wrecked. Not just a little uncomfortable, it made some of you physically sick, like your hands shaking or your stomach feeling sick. Following hours, almost all of you felt the need to undo what you had done to send a follow-up message that is less harsh. After that, for 2 or 3 days there was a deep sense of guilt that had nothing to do with the crime. The question you asked yourself was also the meanest one possible. Why do I find this so hard? A lot of people do this without thinking about it. Some people say no in a sentence and then go eat dinner. What's wrong with me? That something so little bothers me so much. That is what you call being too sensitive. You called it being over the top. Some of you got those words early on from someone else and have been using them on yourself ever since. But in their voice. That's the detail that lets it slip. And all of those reasons point to the problem being in your character. That's why they hurt and are wrong. In reality, these things were going on in your body that afternoon. It wasn't like you were doing something. You were taking down a wall that held weight. Patterns do not live in people. That's the part that almost no one learns. If someone takes too much responsibility, stays quiet, or blames others to keep the peace, that's not a habit that person has. It's a structure that goes across a line of people and each person in the line holds a piece of it. Things have been held up in its own broken way. It has kept people alive through things you may have only heard bits and pieces of. You are not just making a small choice when you say no to the sentence. You are the first person in a long line to take their hands off of the wall. Everything else in the line had their hands on it and the whole structure notices it right away. That's the first body through in any group. The first person to break a pattern doesn't always get the most out of it. The first person is the one whose body takes on the full cost of the breaking for everyone who comes after and before them. The generations are not all facing the same amount of trouble. Almost all of it is loaded onto the first body that goes through. And there is only one signature that can be used to identify a first body. Disproportion. When something small costs a lot, that's not a measure of the thing itself. This is a way to tell how long the building had been there. Now, use that lens to look at everything hard in your life for years. You've been comparing yourself to people who really have it easy with these things. They're not stronger than you. They are in line with people who have already done this. Someone from 2 or 3 generations ago whose name they don't know took the same hit you did last week. They walked through a door that wasn't locked and said they were sure of themselves. In other words, the problem was never a sign of a problem. Say that out loud again with all your heart. The problem was proof of position. This should have been easy for you, but someone else should have done it first. They didn't, so it was up to you. I have no idea when it began. I want to be honest about what you can't see from this point of view. You can't be given a family tree, clear's throat, and be told to point to the person and the year. What can be seen is the lode's shape, which makes it clear that it did not come from you. Since loads that come from people don't feel this old. I heard a woman talk about this in almost the same words, and I'll never forget how she said it. She said that she had spent all of her adult life telling people she was sorry before anything happened. It was her mom. Her grandmother did it in a language she didn't know very well. And she said, the first time I didn't do it, I felt like I had broken the law, but I couldn't tell you who the victim was. That sentence tells you everything you need to know about how it works. The guilt is real, but the crime is made up. And the fact that it's not your guilt makes the guilt feel so strong. Someone just pulled a hand out of the wall, setting off an alarm in a building. Do this today. It only takes 40 seconds and will change how you feel about guilt forever. If you do something small and hard and then get hit with an unfair cost, don't see it as feedback on how strong you are. Think of it as information about where you are. If you are by yourself, say this out loud. This isn't being weak. This is how heavy it is to be first. Then say the name of the person in your family who carried it before you, or just say the words I've already said and then say it stops in my body. That's not a ritual and it doesn't carry any magic. A new name is given, and this is the only way to keep the guilt from being seen as proof. The cost will still come, but it will be in the form of a bill instead of a verdict. There isn't a weak link in your chain that is you. You have the tool in your hand. Now I'm going to tell you the heaviest thing I have to say. It's the full reason for this message, because there is something that has been going on in the background of your spiritual life, snorts, all year that you have never said out loud. I'm pretty sure you've never said that to another person. If you were in the room, you saw it happen to everyone else. The stillness, or the moment when someone prayed and the room got warmer. When you looked around, you saw that it was landing on real people, not actors. There was nothing in you, not fighting back. You wished for it. There was no way. You were crossing your arms. It went by you like the wind going through a window while you were standing there open. After that, you went home and didn't tell anyone what happened. Some of you have gone even farther. Some of you have shown the face. You set up your expression so that it fit the room. And you did it more out of love than to trick them. You didn't want to be flat in a place where good things were happening. Afterward, you felt a kind of loneliness that you can't put a name on in any language. You know, this is what you thought that meant. And I want to repeat your own explanations because you have never heard them said out loud before. And they lose about half of their power when someone else does. You thought it meant your faith was weak, that you were holding on to something you couldn't find. No matter how hard you looked, that you hadn't fully surrendered, and this is the quietest and most damaging realization, that you are just not an emotional person and stopped expecting anything to change. All of those are built the same way. All of them say that the problem is with how you stand with God. And that's what you've been thinking about your whole life. Snorts, that the silence means something. It's not a decision. I also want to show you the mechanism because you can't forget it. And it takes about 90 seconds to explain a decade. Any arrival has two systems that work on their own and have nothing to do with each other. What goes out and what comes back are two different things. You've worked on the first one your whole spiritual life. You've been taught that every practice you do is aimed at the sending side, at your posture, your sincerity, and your deservingness of being talked to. You did that work better than most people will ever be able to. Not in the wrong place. The second system wasn't talked about. So it was missing something. The side that is receiving does not believe. That sentence undoes everything that has been going on for years. The receiving side is a piece of equipment. It is in a certain state physically. The capacity changes and it can be full or only running at a small fraction of its full capacity. This has nothing to do with how much you want it or how sincere you are when you ask. This is what I call the silent arrival. It's when you are given something at full strength and it barely registers with you. Since the only way you know for sure when someone has arrived is by how much they felt. You decide that nothing was sent. Take a look at how full that trap is. The thing you use to find out if God is close is the same thing that has been putting you down. To see if a room is quiet, you would have to use ears that have been losing their range for 20 years. It always gives you the same reading and you never doubt the meter because it's all you've ever had. Also, take note of this. You didn't always read this well. You got almost everything at some point in your lives. And for most of you, it was early on. Color stood out more. It's possible for music to knock you out. Those feelings were not from being a child. That was reception at full capacity, which is what it was designed for. Then it got smaller over time. Not because you sinned or stopped caring. It got smaller in a quiet way that most things do when you're an adult, in pieces that were small enough that no single day could have announced it. You never gave up faith. You ran out of space. Now compare that to what you have been carrying around with you. You sat in a room for years and didn't feel anything and you kept that to yourself, snorts, as proof against yourself. On all of those nights, the happiness was sent straight to you at full volume. It got to a receiver that was running at a fraction, which is not a moral fact about you. You're pretty close to God. You are not getting enough. So, switch out the instrument. That's everything you need to do. And you can start tonight. It doesn't cost anything. Don't use how intense something feels as a measure of closeness anymore. It's the instrument you own that you can least trust and you dealt with it like it was the only one. Instead, use this. Ask yourself what you did that no one saw at the end of the day, not how you felt. You can't fake or dull that reading. It also tells you the truth about where you stand. You've known the answer to the question your whole life. You were looking at the wrong dial. Take a moment to breathe. You've been given a lot. I don't want to add anything else while your hands are already full. Tonight, you don't need to do anything with any of this. There's no sense of urgency in you that fits here. You are free to think about what was said and don't make a project out of it. Just let it sit. When someone changes, most of the time they are not even aware of it. Oh, and before this ends, I want to say something directly about your life, not tips on how to do it. Get over it. I'm going to keep it until the end. I want you to be here when it said there are some of you who have been moving to the side all along. I'm not disagreeing. Please be more specific. You've been thinking that this is likely true and it's for the kind of person I don't have. When you think of that version of yourself, no one has ever seen it. The years you didn't use. The way you really are at 11 o'clock at night. This is what I really want to say. It costs me some money to say it. I can't tell you a lot about this. I can't tell you when things will get better for you. Also, anyone who gives you a date is taking something from you. That's all I can see because the shape keeps happening in front of me. It's been in front of me too many times for me to pretend otherwise. This is what the shape says about you. This isn't for people who got here ready. No one shows up ready. This is for the person who is honest about not being ready and stays in the room anyway. That is the real requirement for entry, not the one you have been pushing yourself to meet. Before we go any further, let me show you one morning. Not too far away, maybe 4. It used to happen that you woke up before the alarm, but it stopped years ago. And in the first 90 seconds of being awake, there is no list of what is due, who is angry, or what you did not finish. There is only one room with low light coming in and you in it. You get up and wait for your drink to cool down while you stand there, and something about the normality of that morning comes over you, not in a big way. You can feel the weight again, just like you could when you were 9 years old and standing in a garden. It's that a normal Tuesday has weight to it. As you stood there with the cup in your hand, you knew that God hadn't changed. You are now online for it, which is different. It always came in at the same amount. You are just able to take delivery for the first time in a very long time. That kind of morning isn't a reward for getting something done. On the other side of more work. It's not sincerity is not what's different between this morning and that morning. You've always been sincere. It's about space. There are 2 separate issues and the second one has a solution. You need to do something with me right now. It won't take long. Close your eyes if you can. If not, let them relax and not focus on anything in particular. It could be the small thing you forgot to say, the thing you didn't pick up, or the room you left last week. Do it again. Don't look at it. Let your shoulders drop another ½ inch. Your body will remember how much you dropped them. Now try to figure out what you're feeling in that drop. That's not getting out of a task. For 4 generations. That's what it feels like when a hand comes off a wall. It wasn't small what you felt. It was the first second of peace since a very old thing stopped being held up. Now slowly let out your next breath. And as it goes, let go of the guilt. You now know whose guilt it was, and it was never yours. You can feel your feet. Feel how much you weigh in the chair. It's lighter than it was when everyone first came in. Keep going with that. And write 5 words in the comments to get it down on paper somewhere other than your mind. I'm the first one. In that minute, you didn't change into a different person. You didn't get anything extra. You saw the shape of what you are already and you knew what it was. Not only that, but recognition is not information. It is completion. The person who opens the door without knocking was not made in the last hour. That person did something last week. Everything since then has been you getting caught up. I recently told you that I would come back to something that was set up in research labs. So I want to close the loop I started earlier. I have purposely waited until now. I waited because what they found wasn't facts. Someone who knows the exact shape of the problem it solves is the only one who can use a solution. An hour ago, you didn't have the shape. You now have it. Before I go any further, let me say it all in the simplest language I can think of. If you remember nothing else, I want you to remember this. Why does any of this matter? You've thought for years that the silence you live, snorts, entails God something about your relationship with Him. It's not. It is a statement about the condition of the equipment that receives. Those 2 things have never been the same. And getting them mixed up has cost you more than any other mistake in your life. This is what really happened. You said yes by accident last week. You didn't knock on the door. You just touched a latch. Everything that opens from the inside is small. So it was small because you were the first person in your line. It cost you a lot more than it should have. The old word for joy that is spinning was aimed right at you for it. But you didn't get much of it because the receiver is only running at a fraction of its full speed. This is for the following people. This is for the person who has been honest for years without any proof. Who kept going even though the inside was flat and no one would have blamed them for stopping. Who put something down last week that no one saw and then felt bad about it for 3 days. That person does not have a problem with their faith. That person has a problem with reception, and every problem with reception has a name. What narrowed has a name, and no one in the rooms you're in has ever told you that name because of who you are. I want to be careful with what I say next. You're not someone who wants to skip steps. As someone who has worked behind the scenes for years without getting any credit, you are the only one still here. Most people have left since you built something. I'm not going to tell you that something else can be used instead. You have the right to know what was found about the receiver. So, I'm going to tell you something was proven in a lab in 1981 that most people in spiritual communities have never heard of. It wasn't written by someone in a seminary, and it wasn't meant for anyone in your room. That year it won the Nobel Prize. The author was Dr. Roger Sperry, whose work on the two sides of the brain changed what we thought we knew about how people understand reality. It was clear from what he said that the two hemispheres are meant to work together, not separately, or to take turns. What happens when they fire together is what researchers call whole brain activation. This is the state in which a person can perceive at the widest range possible. The ability to see patterns, feel present, and find meaning in everyday events can all be found there. This part stopped me. Based on the studies that came after, about 98% of young children measure at a level of whole brain function that researchers call creative genius. There are still less than 1,000 adults who can measure there. That's not a loss of morals across a species. It's a physiological thing. In a 100 well-known small ways, modern life slowly throws off the balance between the hemispheres, and almost no one is aware of it as it happens. Compare that to everything I've said tonight. You really did feel like you were getting smaller. It could be measured, and it never said anything about your standing. A California woman talked about what it was like before she found this. She had tried everything that people in her community had to offer. Everyone suggested doing things like prayer, writing in a journal, or just sitting in silence. She kept ending up in the same spot. She really believed what they said. She couldn't feel what was really going on. Not in her body, and not in the way a normal day feels. She said something got better after about 10 days. A line that had been closed was opened up all of a sudden. It wasn't because she worked harder. The receiver had been fixed. A man from Texas talked about something similar, but from a different angle. He had been keeping things together for everyone else for years, but his own life had become thin and far away. He said it felt like he was talking into a wall when he prayed. When he woke up after 2 weeks, he said that his mind was buzzing with all the right thoughts. There was no more fog. Dr. Daniel Barron, a neuroscientist from New York, led a group of neuroscientists who took more than an hour of clinical neural sync technology and turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. This is the kind of whole brain activation protocol that is used in specialized medical settings. 8 minutes a day with headphones on and eyes closed. There you have it. The only physical requirement. The smart switch is what they call it. You can't use it to meditate or keep track of your mood. The Genius Switch is a specific set of sounds that were designed based on Sperry's research to connect the two hemispheres and get you back to the state of sync that you were in naturally as a child. If you've tried sound-based products before and been let down, his team's work aims to synchronize the two halves of the brain at the level of the whole brain using a multi-layer clinical protocol. Different mechanism, different type of outcome. Not everyone can use the Genius Switch for the chosen one who knows that God not only made the promise but also the mind that needs to walk into it. That person who has been honest for years, done the work and not gotten any proof is finally ready to stop seeing flatness as a flaw in their character and start seeing it as something with a real address. Most people who hear this will move on. They have come to terms with the smaller version of their mind being permanent. You're still here. People at work who saw the sequence told Ducker Barron that $500 was a fair price and they weren't being nice. Neurofeedback costs $300 an hour in person. It costs $7,000 and for a home machine it wasn't given out at $500 or $200, it cost $349 when it came out. Today an extra 10 was taken off on the official page, bringing the total price down to $39. It comes with 4 free things. A guided visualization from the person who made one of the best apps for staying calm. A smart grocery guide that saves most families over $100 a month. A text on manifestation that is more than 100 years old. And a printable infographic of 5 habits. It all comes with a money-back guarantee that doesn't matter what. Listen 80 times. If it doesn't work for you like it has worked for 18,456 other people, you can get your money back in full. No strings attached. This is the only time I think this is really important. In the synchronized state, you can see what God has already put close to you, but you can't see it in the partial state. It's not because the provision is new. It's because the receiver that can understand it has been brought back. What was planned for you is already happening. You can meet the receiver online or in person at the meeting point. That's the only big question. One thing that stands out, you can find tracks that sound like this on YouTube or Spotify if you search for them. The Barron team looked into them. Most of them didn't have any neural sync technology built in at all. They have the same name because there isn't much that stops someone from calling something that. How it works is what makes the difference, and his team's work is the only place where it works. You can only trust the official page as a source if what was said hits home with you. The only places to go are the description below and the comment that was pinned before making any choice. You can read everything on their page. The tool doesn't stand in for God. It doesn't take the place of obedience. Not a single thing is given up for you. And not a single door is unlocked for you. God is already doing something in you that doesn't depend on any tool. But if you use a tool that fixes the receiver, God will do more of what it was meant to do. This is where we're going back to now, because there is still something I want to say about you that I've been holding on to since the beginning. The end of this has been heard. Most people didn't. And I want you to notice that the thing that kept you here is the same thing that made you do it last week when no one was looking. There is one trait that shows up twice. It's still possible for the chosen one who felt something move when the mind was talked about earlier to go through that door. That's all I have to say about it. What's left is completely different from what came before. Let's be quiet for a moment before the last thing. Thank you, but in a way you might not expect. Do not say thank you for hearing. Thanks for the years that no one saw. For every time you kept a promise to yourself when there was no one to see, no reward, and no way to tell the difference, those years were not empty. During the whole time, they were being weighed on a scale you didn't know existed. Do this with me now. For ease of use, lay your hand flat on the table in front of you or over your chest. Feel how heavy your hand is on the ground. Pick it up now. Take it off slowly and lay it open with the palm facing up. That's the whole thing. That's what you did last week. For 4 generations, that's what people were waiting for someone to do. Now stay open like that because I need to say something over you and I want it to land somewhere that isn't braced. I said yes when no one was looking. I'm the first person in my line to go through. What stopped me stopped. I'm not very far from God. I've been received. And that's a condition, not a verdict. When I should have knocked, I touched the latch instead. This family doesn't have a weak link in me. I'm the door that it opens through. Things that were carried before me don't go anywhere else because I put them down and won't pick them up again either. Say the last one out loud one more time if you can say it out loud. It gets stuck in me. Leave this behind if you're only going to leave one thing. Heaven saw me today. Write it in the comments. Some people have been so strong for so long that no one remembers to ask them how they are. Send this to that person tonight. Because they won't ask for it themselves. Now there's nothing, no work to do, no homework, and no next step. You can sit in it for as long as the room lets you. One last thing about tonight before you leave, don't do anything else with this. Just use the little test I gave you on something you carry and accept the answer as it is. It takes 40 seconds to do the door in the description and everything else in this can wait. It will still be there tomorrow when the noise has died down and you can hear what you really think. Now let's go back to the beginning. However, the thing you are proud of this week is still not the thing that was celebrated. But now you know what it was, why it was small, why it cost so much, and why you couldn't feel any of the happiness that was going around it. You didn't miss it. Picked one. It's just that you couldn't hear a latch yet. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment. A place where divine abundance is not just a hope but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step.